all sides all the time.
With me in the studio now is Grema Terab. He is a former state chairman of the Borno State Emergency Management Agency and also a social activist. Thanks for joining me. We saw the military reporting to the president there that the Boko Haram has been defeated. Do you think that group has been defeated?
Well, authoritatively, I am confirming to you that the Boko Haram insurgency have been defeated to some extent, because gone are the days when we have over 20 local government under the captivity of the Boko Haram insurgents, and economic activities and movement of commuters from one community to the other it has not been taking place for a very long time. And schooling activities in Maiduguri has been put to stop for almost over 3 years or so. And now the schools have resumed, and the curfew, most especially in Maiduguri, has been relaxed. And a lot of communities have begun to relocate, most especially people like Monguno have relocated almost a year ago. Gamborungala, Damboa, even Chubok community are still living within their community, and they were never deserted. So relatively, the issue of insurgency have been degraded to some larger extent. So
no, is it defeated or degraded now?
Well, we can give them that credit for doing a very good job, since as I told you earlier, the situation has improved tremendously. Before, in the past, as I told you, a lot of local governments are inaccessible, and now we have more of them that are taking shape, and the issue of resettlement is going on gradually. So we can say the issue of Boko Haram, they have defeated Boko Haram to some certain extent.
Okay, but of course we do see suicide bombings, and we still see attacks by the insurgents on some, even the military itself, killing even officers in the process. Does this activity suggest that this group does not pose any risk again?
Well, the issue of insurgency is an enormous task. You can't just do away with insurgency overnight. So there must be some pocket of resistance here and there. And the issue of suicide bombing, kids, women, have been used to carry out suicide attacks in soft targets. So that shows how demoralized they are, how weakened they are.
It's a sign of weakness.
So we have seen them in the past coordinated attack and sacking towns, sacking villages, and creating whatever mayhem they want to create in society. But now the situation is more safer than before. So the suicide bombing, it is now the only thing left for the military to do away with it. And with the issue of military bombing the IDP camps is so unfortunate and pathetic. So you can imagine these are people that fled the insurgency in various places, for them to be gathered in the local government headquarters and a camp that is best known to the Nigerian Army and international donor agencies. So for them to misfire or have an accidental discharge for whatsoever reason, it is highly condemnable. And even though the people have absolute confidence with the Nigerian military that they could not carry out this attack intentionally, and people have seriously given some benefit of doubt to the military, but there must be some answers to a lot of unanswered questions, and the people
a
are
kind
expecting,
of probe
yes, the people are expecting the result of the investigation, and they are expecting a high sense of compensation, because you can't just allow people to die without compensating family, most especially when it comes from the side of government. And what our people expect is a national mourning exercise. But even though the president have condemned the attack and has commiserated with the people in larger extent, we saw the delegation of the federal government, we saw the army chief up and doing with regards to the investigation, so on and so forth. But our people have a lot of unanswered questions in their mind.
Okay. Now let's take a look at the life in Borno, and by implications, the other parts of the northeast where the insurgency had been concentrated in the past. You said, yes, the victory over the Boko Haram has helped to indeed normalize activities. What's the impact on the psyche of the people, on social activities generally?
Yeah, our people are extremely traumatized over the years. You can imagine a situation whereby people are locked up in the internally displaced camps for almost 2 years and a half. And these are people that don't engage themselves in any business or economic activities. Most of them are farmers, are fishermen. These are people from the local and the rural dwellers, and they have found themselves in makeshift tents where they call it home. And what we expect from the side of the government and the donor agencies is to engage these people in one way or the other to start funding for themselves. So it is extremely traumatizing for them to stay in one place. These are people that are used to economic activities with regards to farming, animal husbandry, fishing, so on and so forth. Most of them are traders. They trade from one community to the other. And don't forget that Borno State is bordering 3 international communities, the Niger, the Cameroon, and Chad. So there's a serious high flow of economic activities, cross-border trade between Nigeria and the neighboring countries. So all these have come to cease for almost the past 3 years and so. So it is extremely traumatizing. The people are psychologically down. They are disturbed, and they are now.
How do we get to lift their morale?
Well, the best thing for us to build their morale is that whenever you have something like this, when it comes to post-insurgency program, government is now looking at the angle of the 3 R's: the reconstruction, the rehabilitation, and the resettlement. While government is building the key institutions and the local governments that were affected, and at that process, the IDPs should be rehabilitated before resettlement. And as part of the rehabilitation, the IDPs should be involved in the reconstruction exercise that is taking place in their local governments.
As a way of empowering them economically.
Because you can't just go into my local government and into my house and build whatever you want to do. So when you are engaging me, for instance, if a house, if the government will come up with a very good plan where they will identify the destroyed communities, they will earmark where it is completely destroyed and partially destroyed. So they can earmark some certain amount of money for each room to be built in a house that is completely destroyed, the number of blocks needed, the number of cement, and all the equipment needed for one to build their houses. So government can empower the IDPs to give them the materials needed per room and the amount needed per room. If they have 5 rooms, they should multiply the rooms, the number of rooms with the amount that they're giving them. So let them do it by themselves. So it's going to keep them busy, and it's going to bounce back economic activities.
The trickle-down effect.
Yes.
Now, talking about the welfare of the IDPs, the way all the various agencies and levels of government have been taking care of them have been a bit controversial recently. The governor of Borno State recently accused some international humanitarian organizations of not doing enough, of embarking on wastages. The governor himself has also been accused severally of not doing enough. We had reports of theft of materials meant for the IDPs. How do we coordinate all this, talking about empowering the people, to ensure that we don't just dissipate energy in the process, so much activities, why little impact is being made on the IDPs?
Well, there have been serious communication gap in amongst various agencies that are coordinating activities in the Northeast. As I've always said in different media outlets, that we have a lot of government agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of taking care of the IDPs. When it comes to the federal government, we have the National Commission on Refugees and Displacement. We have the National Emergency Management Agency. We have the Presidential Committee on Northeast. We have the Victim Support Fund. When it comes to the state level, you have the State Emergency Management Agency. you have the local government administration also, and you have about
with their own emergency management organizations.
Yeah, and we are talking about 45.
And then the NGOs.
45 international donor agencies with about 80 local NGOs are all participating with regards to taking care of the IDPs in the Northeast. And to everyone's surprise, it could not bring succor to the people upon all the resources involved in taking care of the IDPs. There is a serious communication gap.
Is there a situation where they are pulling from different directions?
Everybody is operating on its own angle. That is why when the president inaugurated the Presidential Committee on Northeast, he gave them the mandate to coordinate the affairs of all the NGOs and the critical actors and stakeholders that are involved in taking care of the IDPs. We are yet to see that up till now. Everybody is operating on its own angle, and the story remains the same. The issue of malnourishment is key in the camps. The issue of diseases, hunger, and death are in large number within IDP communities. So there is serious
and even issue of corruption.
Yeah, the corruption is the key factor, because we have seen in the past where foods meant for IDPs are being sold in marketplaces, and the president has ordered full-scale investigation. We are yet to hear any result of our outcome of that investigation. The security agencies were tasked to find out what is going on with regards to the food diversion in the camps. We have witnessed where the president also directed the security operatives to bring to book about the issue of rape cases in the camps and the sexual assault. So these are all issues that are affecting the welfare of the IDPs. We have a lot of NGOs that are doing very well, and it surprises everyone when the governor sacked the NGOs. Without the presence of the NGOs, a serious humanitarian catastrophe will occur in the Northeast, because what the government claims to be spending, and most of the NGOs are doing it in the camps. The camps has very little people there. More than it houses not less than 200,000.
There's this other argument that we don't even need the camps now. The more fundamental issue will be to resettle them, take them back to their communities so that they begin to live their normal lives. So, some of the IDPs are even tired of staying in the camps.
IDPs are tired. The government also is tired. But for whatever reason, the government are dragging the issue of resettlement. For whatever reason. I can vividly recall when during the last administration, when elections were postponed, Monguno was recaptured by the Nigerian army. So the Boko Haram were chased out of Monguno, and they resettled themselves without any government intervention. They were there for over a month. So when Burotei,
the people resettled
themselves. So when Burotei came on board, he immediately captured Gamborungala, where the people resettled themselves. So it is same case in Damboa, it is same case in Chibok community, it is same case in Dikwa, in Kanduga, and a lot of places. So you can imagine why the government is holding back for resettlement exercise at the side of the IDPs. The IDPs really want to go back home. They are tired. They want to be engaged in economic activities. We have called on government on several occasions to bring out post-insurgency program. For instance, if you are now talking about 2 million IDPs that were displaced in the Northeast, and if Victim Support Fund have over 28 billion at their disposal, so you can imagine it is easier for us to give all the IDPs some.
And there are more funds coming from IMF, World Bank pledging some reconstruction.
World Food Program, the Dangotes, the Bill Gates. So a lot of funds are trooping into the Northeast unaccounted for.
Okay, let's take a short break. We'll come back, we'll remain with the Northeast, maybe issues of military strategy and overall government approach towards managing effectively this situation, and more importantly, preventing any form of insurgency from erupting in that place.
Chaos and conflicts. We see community action for good governance. They see poverty and want. We see perseverance and the will to go on. They see economic law. We see the ingenuity and creative spirit of our people. We are AIT News, fresh, authentic views of Africa. How would you rather see the world? AIT News, all sides, all the time.
Grema Terab is a social activist as well as former chairman of Borno State Emergency Management Agency. We have been taking a look at northeast of Nigeria. And for the past 10 minutes, we have dwelt on the issue of the IDPs, the human issue there. But let's look at the wider issue now, talking about a new phase that should, for me, elicit a new strategy of approaching and managing this insurgency. It's more of a suicide bombers now, and some will say maybe the citizenry who are sympathetic to the Boko Haram are making themselves available to be used. Is it a fight for the government alone? What role for the people? In the past, we have seen army military officials accuse elders of the Northeast of encouraging insurgents, not doing enough to help them. What do you think they should do to be part of this anti-insurgency campaign?
Well, that was in the past. As I'm talking to you right now, we have seen where civilian JTF have emerged in the public domain, and among the citizens where they come up with vigilance and security activities to man their territory and their community. So the citizens are cooperative, and I'm assuring you the general public are doing very, very well, and are doing their utmost best to make sure they safeguard the lives, and they're part of the security services in the state. The military has never carried out any attack without the involvement of the civilian JTF. So everybody is almost vigilant in Borno State or in the Northeast at large. But the real issue goes around to the issue of economic activities. People are living in abject poverty. People are hungry.
And these are some of the underlying causes of the insurgency in the first place.
People are hungry. And there is severe abject poverty in the Northeast, most especially in Borno State. People hardly eat a meal a day. So you can imagine where these are farmers, and they could not have been farming for the past 3 years. So they are doing nothing. That is why the issue of the Northeast is so worrisome, to the extent that you cannot just deal with supplying and dropping food without dealing with other issues. You can't supply food, raw food, to the IDPs without giving them charcoal, because how do they cook it? You can't supply food and charcoal without giving them medical services. You can't ignore sanitary pads for the women. You can't ignore the shoes for the kids, the blankets, most especially when it is cold. So there are a lot of compounding issues with regards to the upkeep of the IDPs. So since these people are doing nothing, the government must look at all angles where they are needing, and they must address all the angles squarely. And the main solution for this problem is to bounce back economic activities. For instance, the reconstruction exercise that is going on in the state, people are busy fighting to get white elephant contracts in terms of the reconstruction. People are trying to exploit the situation of the IDPs in terms of reconstruction and make money, instead of the government to focus on giving out monies to the IDPs to do it by themselves. So
that is getting them involved in the procurement process.
Yes, but the government wants to do the reconstruction by themselves. Victim Support Fund is also doing something like that. So the Presidential Committee on North is also carrying out the building process there. And the well-meaning individuals like the Dangote, the philanthropists, the Bill Gates, have contributed a lot of building materials. So the state government is also there. And you can imagine this is a state that receives on the average of over 7 billion naira on a monthly basis, and they were never.
That was during the good old days. It should be smaller.
Even with the recession, I'm telling you, the Borno State received over 100 billion naira.
During what period?
Even from June 2015 to December 2016, they received almost 100 billion naira. So on the average, even during the recession period, the least Borno State ever received was 5-point-something billion naira. They never received less than, I'm talking to you, combined the local government and state. So Borno is the 10th largest recipient in terms of federal allocation. We can remember vividly when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the past finance minister, told us Borno is richer than a lot of African countries, because it's a state that received over 800 billion naira in the past 6 years. So when you're talking about reconstruction or the welfare of the IDPs, they should be taking care of themselves, even without the donor agencies. And now we have support from donor agencies. We have support from the federal government with duplicating roles. So if you are saying about 20 local governments are inaccessible for almost 20 years, for almost 2 years, and their monies kept on coming, so there should be some serious amount of money to play about with the issue of reconstruction. And let us draw our attention a little bit when Mubi was attacked.
That's in Adamawa State.
Adamawa State. So when Mubi was attacked, Mubi was decided immediately when the emir returned back to Mubi without any government support. Mubi immediately bounced back to life. So some of these reconstruction or some of these resettlement exercises, it needs very little effort from the government. So what the government needs to do is to build institutions, the police stations, the army barracks, the hospital. In all the local government, we have general hospitals available there, and we have staff for that for those local general hospitals. If you are relocating the police, the army, the paramilitary, and if you are relocating the medical staff there to go and start giving their services, people will return by themselves.
It appears the situation in the Northeast is quite complex and interesting. The governor accusing the international donor agencies of misapplication of funds. Some people raising issues against the governor. Some people also pointing accusing figures at the federal officials who have been superintending over issues there. It appears that it was an opportunity for people to help themselves.
All the agencies involved should take some portion of the blame. The state government, the federal government, the NGOs also. The issue of trust came on board when the NGOs found out that state officials are selling food items, are diverting food items. Before they used to liaise with the state government, they give whatever they are bringing into the state to donate to the state government for onward distribution. And now when it became clear to the donor agencies that state governments are siphoning public food meant for IDPs and the materials made for IDPs, they hold back to their distribution exercise. So they have been carrying out their distribution exercise by themselves. So that is where the communication gap is going on, duplicating roles, and for whatever reason the governor sacked them because he doesn't feel their impact. Unknowingly, we have over 2 million displaced persons in the host community that are uncatered for by the government. So the NGOs largely concentrated on the host community. For instance, I have said it in many places. In Banki, we have about 19,000 IDPs taking refuge there. There isn't any presence of government there. In Biu, we have the IDP camp in Biu. It has been catered for by the ICRC. We have in Damboa, we have in Monguno, we have in Dikwa, we have in Gamborungala, even Kalabalge. There isn't any government presence. The camp that was bombed by the Air Force mistakenly, they were called to give them relief materials by ICRC and MSF. So how can you sack NGOs that are bringing in relief materials
without ensuring that there are good alternatives?
That is it.
Now, looking forward, even when we deal with this Boko Haram insurgency, some people say because of the poverty that is endemic in the Northeast, illiteracy, and possible indoctrination with some foreign ideas, maybe in the future we'll see and begin to contend with another form of insurgency. How do we
government must seriously work on the side of the radicalization. Government must engage scholars in every angle to make sure they preach the good attitude of Islam and other religion, because you can't allow people that are extreme, that are fanatic, and allow them to come back and integrate in the society. There must be an issue of serious radicalization. 1. 2, the provision of social amenities and basic needs. Almost in the Northeast, the social amenities and basic needs are no more there to be found. The schools, almost all the children in the schools are sitting on the bare floor. So there are unqualified teachers. The school, as I'm talking to you, in most of the public hospitals in Borno State, you can't find an X-ray machine. You can't find an ultrasound machine. So it is applicable in most of the states in Nigeria. So if you don't tackle the issues of social amenities and basic needs, there's a serious issue, the issue of water supply. So if you don't create an avenue for people to get potable drinking water, it is also an issue. So government must seriously invest in the provision of social amenities and basic needs. An empowerment program. most especially girl child education and women empowerment and youth empowerment. People must be empowered. That is why when the president introduced the Anko Borowa program of the CBN and Ministry of Agri to boost local agricultural production, we were very happy. We were very happy. But we have never seen it in the Northeast. None of the states benefited from that program.
But this payment of 5,000 naira stipend, I think states in the Northeast have some advantage. But you mentioned those that are being released, some repentant Boko Haram members who were caught. What impact do you think they will make? You mentioned about the fact whether, a question whether they were fully de-radicalized before the military authorities release them, because they will get back to the site, and there's a possibility that they will go back to
There is serious issue of trust. After every insurgency or whatever war that took place in the past, there must be a process of reconciliation. Government must come with a reconciliation program where you will reconcile the repentant insurgents and the people that are being affected. Yeah, the victims. Because you can't expect somebody to kill my father, my mother, and for him to come and sit with me in my community. So there must be series of reconciliation the government has to play. And the people must be completely de-radicalized, and they must be engaged in some economic activities.
And possibly watched closely by the
monitored by the intelligence agencies. And if the need be, they should be taken to other places where they have not committed such crimes, in order to allow the wounds to heal before bringing them back to society. So government must play a very big role in terms of the radicalization of the insurgents before reintegrating them back to the society.
Okay, Grema Terab is the former chairman Borno State Emergency Management Agency and a social activist. He has done justice considerably to the issue under consideration. The Northeast, the new phase of terrorism taking place there, what response from government, what rules for the civil society, including International Humanitarian Agency. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
It, Mr. Mitch.
My name is Amichanap. We will return on Tuesday with another edition. Have a good evening.